Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about the Neopets Food Club bets. This isn't the first time I've made a video on this topic. I received enough comments the last couple of times that I've made this type of tutorial that I know that I wasn't as clear as I could have been, and that there are still some lingering questions about how to do the Food Club bets. This video, I'm going to walk you through a guide that is pretty foolproof that I found from the Neopets Nation Facebook group, which is, as far as I'm concerned, the only reason why you would ever go on Facebook. It's an excellent guide and it's pretty foolproof. So I'm going to walk through the process laid out in that guide. I'm going to walk through the standard process, and then I'm going to explain a little bit about the Food Club bets. But because I know some of you are only interested in watching the first portion, first I'm going to walk through using the guide, and then we're going to have the discussion about Food Club bets. I know it could be a little intimidating. I know there's a lot of questions and concerns, which is why it's really important for me to have the discussion portion on the end of this video. So I hope to demystify and make it accessible to more folks, because this is an excellent way to make Neopoints. It is gambling, but it is, in my opinion, one of the most surefire ways to generate Neopoints on Neopets.com. Let's get into it. The guide that I'm using is called Shark's Easy Food Club Guide. And this is something that is frequently recommended on the Neopets Nation Facebook group for people who are new to Food Club bets. I'm going to just scroll through it real quick so you could see what the guide looks like. It's just some screenshots. Nothing that you wouldn't see on a pet page circa 2006. But since we are in 2023, it is located in a Google Doc. The reason why I'm scrolling through it right now, and so you could see the breadth of the document, is so that you see that it's actually quite small. I think there's a tendency to see the process and think it's really complicated, but the explanation is short because the process is short. It's very straightforward, it's pretty easy to follow, and it's pretty foolproof. The guide starts with a screenshot of what you'll find on a certain bettor's pet page, and then it walks you through using those bets to place your own bets on Food Club. So on one tab, I have the Food Club open, and then on another window, I have Bucci_target. So this is a pet page administered by somebody that refers to themselves as Garrett, and these are Garrett's Food Club bets. So at the top, we have an explanation of Garrett's approach. Read this if you're interested, and then it tells you what day we're making the bets for, and then the results from yesterday. These are the bets that Garrett made. We're going to use this site in order to place our bets. So this is neofood.club, and then it has a backslash, an octothorpe round equals, and then it matches the round number that's currently going on. So we want to place a bet. How do we do that? We're going to go to the bottom of Garrett's page underneath this table, and you see FCNC string for the bets I actually made. Copy this. You go back to Neo Food Club. You go in the URL bar, the address bar, and then you're going to paste it. And then you're going to scroll down, select set bet amounts to max. All of these load. The first time you do it, you may have to enter what your max bet amount is, and then after that, it'll remember. It's based off of your cookies and your cache to your local browser. So then you'll scroll over the bets. So we're going to go ahead and place the bet, and we do that. The hotkeys that I'm going to use are Control on the keyboard and clicking my mouse. And what this does is it just opens it in a new tab. Now let's take a look at it. So that's placing the first one. The second one, as you see, that's all of the 10 bets in the same order that this pet page is in. So we got Scurvy Dan the Blade, Scurvy Dan the Blade, Fairfax the Deckhand, Fairfax the Deckhand for Cheesco, Caravaggio, is it Caravaggio? Somebody tell me. And it's set to my max bet amount, which is 8670 Neopoints. I start out every day by collecting my winnings from the previous day, so I started today with 280,000 Neopoints. So that's the process. That's all you have to do. You go to the pet page. If you're using Garrett, Bucci_target, you check to see that they've made bets today because they can choose not to make bets. They could choose to skip that day. You take this string, you put it on the end of the URL, you refresh, and then you set bet amounts to max, and then you place the bets. That's the process. Now let's just walk through the guide so you have like a thorough understanding on what's that document, and so I can address anything that the guide covers. Like I said, this is a really exhaustive, very great resource that I highly recommend. The first thing that you're going to see here is it explains what's going on the pet page. And this is specifically for the Bucci_target pet page. There are other bettors that share on pet pages. And there's a directory on Hostio's page. If I ever really want to make a bet and Garrett has skipped that day, I come here and I find a different bettor to use. They don't all share the URL, but this one does. Crimson Waters does. So you'll just want to browse through here. There's also a Reddit thread where people share their bets. Following this guide, at the very top, you see what the performance yesterday was. You see where it says current bets. These are the bets you're going to place. The odds column, it tells you what the odds are of that bet being successful. The higher the number, the higher the payout, and the lower a chance of winning. So for instance, what we see here, the highest number is 52-1. So that has a lower chance than, let's say, 16-1, but it'll have a higher payout if it's accurate. You're not looking for all of these bets to come true. That's not possible because you'll see contradictory bets, right? So in this one, it says Scurvy Dan the Blade on Shipwreck, but in the next bet, it says the Tailhook Kid on Shipwreck. And that's just to cover a spread of opportunities of what could possibly happen. So you'll scroll to the bottom of the graph and you'll copy this code right here. You'll go to the Food Club Bets page and you'll select your max bet amount. And then you'll go back to neofood.club with your pasted bet string. You should only have to enter it once because it'll remain in your cookies unless you clear your cookies, and then you'll have to go in and put it there. Then you'll select set bet amounts to max, and then you will click on the place bet links. Considerations, it helps to have an older account. If you have a side that's older than your main, you may want to consider switching main accounts because you can't do this on multiple accounts at the same time. You need one main account. You can't play on multiple accounts at the same time. Some days you will bust, but overall you will make a profit. This is a really necessary point for me to cover. Let's look at my bet history. So my bet history, I've placed 4,131 bets, and I've made, this is green, so I've made a profit of 17 million Neopoints, 17.2 million Neopoints. And it's hard to remember this on days where you lose, but on most days, you're going to have a significant profit to make the bets the next day. This is the process that you would follow if you wanted to traditionally enter these bets without help of the guide. You would do this by matching this exactly. So you would go like Shipwreck, Scurvy Dan the Blade, Lagoon, Fairfax the Deckhand, Harpoon Harry's, Francisco Carvello, and then you would manually put in 8670. The reason why I would manually enter 8670 is because above the place a bet table, you see that it tells you that my daily max is 8670. This is calculated based off of the age of my account. So your account would have a different max bet, and that max bet increases every day. And then press place this bet. And then you would do it 10 times, once for each of these individual cells outlining what the bet was. But we're not going to enter it that way because that takes minutes from your life that you never get back. Now let's look at some of the questions that I've received over the years and address them. Here's the most common question that I see, and I've seen quite a few of these in different iterations. So this is from Zophie Michaels, and this is from 6 years ago. I do not understand this at all. What happens if one of the pirates isn't in the drop-down list despite what their page says? It's so confusing, I may not even bother. If you find yourself in an instance where the bettor's page does not line up with the options available to you on the drop-downs, that is because there's a mismatch between the current day and the day on the bettors page. And you have to take into consideration these bettors are located all over the planet, and that Neopet Standard Time may not necessarily match that bettor or your time. It could be that there is a dissonance between the time the bettor is reporting, the day the bettor is reporting, the day at Central Standard Time, and then the day that you are living in. And this is just what, a couple of hours possibly, but it's enough to make it so that when you're entering your bets, those pirates aren't listed. So what you want to do, if you run into that issue, is check a different bettors page. If you are ever in an instance where the bettors page does not reflect the official Neopets Food Club bet page, there is a dissonance. There is a difference in what day it is between you and the bettor. The winners for the Food Club bets, I believe, are drawn at 3 p.m. Neopet Standard Time. So today it is March 30th. It's currently March 30th, and the bets that I placed were for March 30th. Eventually, it'll be 5 p.m. Neopet Standard Time on March 30th. There will be a different selection of bettors available, yet the day will still be March 30th. The issue is that round will be for March 31st, even though that's tomorrow, not today, right? So on any given day, the Neopets Food Club will reflect the opportunity to bet on 2 different days. However, one will be until it's drawn, and then the next will be for the next day, right? I hope that makes sense, right? Like leading up till 3 p.m. Neopet Standard Time, the bets are for March 30th. Following the bets being ran at 3 p.m. Neopet Standard Time, the page will then reflect the opportunity to bet for March 31st Neopet Standard Time. And because the bettors are volunteers doing this for fun, and not because they are employees of Neopets or not because they are algorithms, there will be a delay in them posting what their bet recommendations for the 31st are. So it could be the morning of the 31st, and you're like, why does it still say the bets for the 30th? These people aren't listed on the page at all. And that's simply because these people are volunteers. They're doing this because it's their hobby, because their interest, and there may be some sort of delay in them posting what their bet recommendations are, right? So those are a couple of different scenarios where the page might not reflect what bettors are recommending that you bet. Julio G asking, 6 years ago, my Neopets account is only a year old, so does that mean I won't make a lot of Neopoints? To which Mara Bonbon responded, well, if you do it daily and you have luck, it will pay out, I think. My account is 10 years old, and I always get between 700,000 Neopoints and 100,000 Neopoints from betting. My response is that this is gambling, and so it's never guaranteed that you're going to make a profit from this. You could have a week straight where you don't win anything, so take that into consideration when I say this. You may not have the gains that somebody with an older account than your account would have. However, you will make a profit if you play it enough using the technique and the bets from the bet pages. You have to follow them and place all 10. However, if you do that, I guarantee you will eventually make a profit. It works the best to say, you know what, this week I'm going to try to do it every day, and then sit down and do it every single day. If you do it every so often, you're not going to have the same opportunity for a return. I wouldn't let the age of your account influence whether or not you do this, because it's still a great way to make currency, and every day that goes by, you get a greater possibility for a return. This next comment comes from Debria Constella, and it is from 6 years ago. And Debria says, I've started buying stocks and I've placed my first few bets. Let's see how long it takes for me to get Neopets rich. And then I said, please let me know what goes on. And then they responded, well, I've only just started buying stocks, so I'm not expecting much from that yet. I've gotten about 200,000 worth so far. As for the Food Club bets, from my first round playing, I earned 150,000 Neopoints. I can definitely see the long-term benefit from this, having only spent about 25,000 on bets. Lady Alucard from 5 years ago. Oh wow, thanks for this. On my first try yesterday, I bet about 95,000 Neopoints and won 225,000 Neopoints, so more than 100,000 Neopoints profit for me. A little update after trying for almost 2 weeks. In 12 days, I placed 120 bets where I bet about 1 million Neopoints total. I won a total of about 2.5 million Neopoints, which means that I made a profit of 1.5 million Neopoints. So 1.5 million Neopoints in less than 2 weeks. Thanks again. The reason why I share this testimonials is just to show how there is an impact from doing this. I can say all day that this works for me and this is how I make Neopoints, and people aren't going to believe me. So I wanted to share those comments as well. This process works for me. In my experience, this is one of the most ironclad ways to make Neopoints. It is gambling though. So unless you are literally the luckiest person on the planet and the system is broken, you're not going to win every day. It's just not going to happen. There are going to be days where you walk away empty-handed. But like I said, if you do it consistently, every day following bets from someone like Garrett on Bucci_Target's page, you're going to have a profit. I know this because that's all I've done. I've never sat down and made the bets myself. I always follow a guide from somebody else. And over the lifetime of my account, I have a 17 million Neopoint profit. This is not rocket science. It's not hard. All you have to do is follow the guide, what I laid out in this video. So please don't think of it as hard. Don't think of it as confusing. Just follow the steps. This is a great way to make Neopoints. It's not hard to make Neopoints. All you need is that little startup Neopoints, and you should be able to come up with enough to place 10 bets. And if you can't, then, play the stock market, which is also a long game. Play some games, sell some stuff, do some Fairyland Employment Agency to get the startup Neopoints. And then after you have a couple days of winnings, you should be able to place your bets based off of your winnings. Like I said, today I logged on and I had made 280,000 Neopoints, which is more than enough for me to place today and tomorrow's bets. Eventually, you'll set up a system where you'll have enough in the system where you can win and then make your bets off of those winnings. I am a huge advocate for this. If you can't do your max bet amount, then just take how many Neopoints you have, divided by 10, and that becomes your max bet per day. All right? Guys, this is serious. This is the best system to make Neopoints. Please leave questions if you have them. A huge thank you to Shark for making the guide. This is just, in my opinion, it's very foolproof. It's just a really good guide. Please refer to it. Please use it. And please leave questions if you have them. All right. This was just a very quick video. I hope that you guys enjoy it, and I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye.